Chicago winters had a way of making people honest. The cold stripped away the masks. On nights like this, when icy winds sliced through downtown streets and the glowing skyscrapers reflected across the black surface of the Chicago River, people revealed exactly who they were. And, tonight, someone was about to reveal a monster. Ava Monroe stood outside a luxury restaurant on Michigan Avenue, staring through the tall glass windows. Inside, people laughed. Wine glasses clinked. Soft jazz floated through the warm amber light. It looked like the perfect night. Except Ava had just discovered her entire life had been a lie. Her gloved hand tightened around her phone. On the screen was a message she wished she had never opened. A photo. Her fiancé. And her best friend. Kissing. Not an innocent kiss either. The kind that told you this wasn't new. This had history. This had secrets. This had betrayal written all over it. Ava exhaled slowly, the cold air turning her breath into smoke. Wow, she whispered to herself. Did not see that coming. The funny part? Inside that restaurant, they were celebrating her engagement. Her engagement. The ring still sat on her finger, a diamond big enough to blind the room. A gift from the man who apparently had no problem sleeping with her best friend. Chicago traffic roared past behind her. Taxi horns. Police sirens in the distance. A city that never cared about broken hearts. Ava slipped the phone into her coat pocket and stared back through the glass. At Ethan Carter. Her fiancé. Chicago's golden boy. 32. Investment banker. Charismatic. Successful. And, apparently, a professional liar. Across from him sat Lily Parker. Ava's best friend since college. The woman who had helped Ava pick out her wedding dress. The woman who had cried when Ethan proposed. The woman who had just been caught making out with him in a parking garage 15 minutes ago. Ava had gone outside to take a call. Instead, she had walked straight into the truth. And now here she was. Watching them smile. Watching them pretend. Watching them toast to a future that apparently included stabbing her in the back. Ava tilted her head slightly. Something shifted inside her chest. Not heartbreak. Not tears. Something colder. More dangerous. She smiled. Not a sad smile. Not a broken one. The kind of smile that appears when someone makes a very important decision. Okay, she murmured. Game on. Inside the restaurant, Ethan checked his watch. Where the hell is Ava? He muttered. Lily sipped her wine nervously. She said she took a call. Yeah, 20 minutes ago. Ethan glanced toward the entrance. I swear if she bailed on her own engagement dinner. Lily forced a laugh. She wouldn't. But Lily's eyes flicked toward the door. Because Lily knew something Ethan didn't. Lily had seen Ava walk past the parking garage earlier. Lily had felt a moment of panic. What if Ava saw them? But then Lily convinced herself it was impossible. Too dark. Too fast. Too lucky. Right. The restaurant door opened. Cold air rushed in. Both of them looked up. Ava stepped inside. Her long dark hair dusted with snowflakes. Her black coat wrapped tightly around her body. And that same calm smile resting on her lips. Sorry I'm late, she said casually. Ethan grinned. There she is. He stood and kissed her cheek. Ava hugged him back. Warm. Normal. Perfect. Except her eyes were completely different now. Sharp. Observant. Calculating. Lily stood too. Ava. Oh my God, we thought you disappeared. Ava hugged her. Tight. Friendly. Just like always. Except she whispered something softly in Lily's ear. So, Ava murmured, voice sweet as honey. How is the parking garage? Lily froze. Her heart stopped. For half a second. Then Ava pulled away. Still smiling. Still calm. Still perfect. And Lily realized something terrifying. Ava knew. But Ethan didn't notice anything. Come sit, he said. We already ordered champagne. Ava slid into her seat. The waiter arrived with a bottle. Crystal glasses filled with golden bubbles. To Ava and Ethan, Lily said quickly. To love. They clinked glasses. Ava raised hers slowly. Her reflection shimmered in the liquid. She looked happy, beautiful, untouchable. But inside her mind, a plan had already begun forming. Because Ava Monroe wasn't the kind of woman who screamed when betrayed. She didn't throw wine. She didn't cry in public. No, Ava believed in something else. Revenge. Carefully planned, perfectly executed, and slow enough to make it hurt. She sipped the champagne, smiled at Ethan, and asked the question that would begin the destruction of his entire life. "So, Ethan," she said lightly, "when were you planning to tell me?" Ethan blinked. "Tell you what?" Ava tilted her head. Her smile widened. "Oh, nothing." She leaned back in her chair. "For now." Lily's fingers trembled around her glass, because Lily realized something Ethan still hadn't. The night wasn't about celebration anymore. It was about survival. And Ava Monroe had just declared war. Later that night, snow fell harder across Chicago. Streetlights glowed through the storm. Ava stood alone on a bridge overlooking the frozen river. Her phone buzzed. A message from Ethan. "You okay tonight? You seemed quiet." Ava stared at the screen, then typed back, "Just thinking about the future." 3 dots appeared. Then Ethan replied, "Our future." Ava smiled again. A slow, dangerous smile. Exactly. She slipped the phone into her pocket and looked across the skyline. Chicago stretched endlessly into the darkness. Beautiful, cold, unforgiving, just like the revenge she was about to unleash. Because Ethan Carter thought he was marrying the perfect woman. What he didn't know was that Ava Monroe had just become the most dangerous enemy he would ever make. And the worst part? He had no idea the game had already begun. Ava whispered softly into the winter wind, "Let's see how long that smile of yours lasts." Behind her, across the street, a black SUV had been parked for nearly 10 minutes. The driver watched Ava carefully. Watching. Waiting. Because Ava Monroe wasn't the only one planning something tonight. And the man inside the SUV had just made a phone call. "Yeah," he said quietly. "It's her." Pause. Then he added something chilling. "Should we tell her the truth about Ethan?" The voice on the other end replied, "Not yet." A slow smile appeared on the driver's face. "Let her play." He hung up the phone and drove away into the Chicago snowstorm, leaving Ava alone on the bridge, completely unaware that her revenge story was only the beginning of something much darker. Chicago woke slowly after a snowstorm. The city looked almost peaceful, sidewalks buried in white, traffic moving carefully through slushy streets, and steam rising from subway grates like the city itself was breathing. But Ava Monroe hadn't slept. Not even a minute. Her apartment overlooked Lake Michigan from the 37th floor of a sleek glass tower in Streeterville. Normally the view calmed her. The endless gray water, the distant line of Navy Pier, the quiet rhythm of waves hitting the frozen shoreline. Today it meant nothing. She stood by the window in an oversized sweater, a mug of black coffee in her hands. Her phone lay on the marble kitchen island. Dozens of messages. From Ethan. From Lily. From friends who had been at the dinner. But Ava ignored all of them. Instead, she replayed the moment from the parking garage again in her head. The kiss. The way Ethan held Lily like it wasn't the first time. The way Lily laughed afterward. That laugh. Ava slowly took a sip of coffee. The bitterness felt good. Pain had a strange way of sharpening your mind. And Ava Monroe had always been good at strategy. Back in college at Northwestern, her professors used to joke that she thought like a chess grandmaster. 3 moves ahead. Always calm. Always calculating. But revenge required something more. Patience. And right now, she had all the patience in the world. Her phone buzzed again. "Ethan." She finally picked it up. "Ethan. Good morning, beautiful. You okay? You seemed off last night." Ava smiled slightly, typing slowly. "Ava. Just tired. Big day at work." 3 dots appeared immediately. "Ethan. Dinner tonight? I miss you." Ava leaned against the counter. Her reflection stared back at her from the stainless steel refrigerator. Calm. Collected. Deadly. Ava. Of course. She hit send, then whispered softly to herself. Let the show begin. Downtown Chicago buzzed with its usual Monday chaos. The loop filled with suits, coffee cups, and the sound of the L train rumbling overhead. Ava walked into her office building like nothing had happened. The security guard greeted her. Morning, Ms. Monroe. Morning, Carl. Her heels clicked confidently across the marble lobby floor. No one would ever guess that 12 hours ago her entire world had shattered. That was the advantage of emotional discipline. People underestimated calm women. Ava worked as a corporate crisis strategist for a high-profile consulting firm. In simple terms, when powerful people screwed up, Ava fixed the mess. Scandals, corporate leaks, political disasters. She specialized in controlling narratives, which meant she understood something most people didn't. Information was power. And Ethan Carter had no idea how much information Ava had access to. She stepped into the elevator, pressed 43. As the doors closed, she opened her phone again. Not Ethan's messages. Something else. A folder. Photos. Screenshots. And one particular video she had quietly recorded last night. Parking garage security cameras had blind spots. But Ava's phone camera didn't. The video clearly showed Ethan and Lily kissing. Laughing. Holding each other. Ava watched it again. Her expression didn't change. But something inside her hardened. Step 1, she whispered. Documentation. Because revenge without proof was just drama. And Ava Monroe didn't do drama. She built cases. Across town, Ethan Carter walked into his investment firm's office with his usual confident swagger. The building on LaSalle Street was pure old money Chicago. Tall columns, polished stone floors, and a lobby filled with men who thought they controlled the world. Ethan adjusted his expensive navy suit. Morning, he said to the receptionist. Morning, Mr. Carter. His coworkers respected him. Clients trusted him. His bosses loved him. Ethan Carter was the kind of man who seemed untouchable. But even untouchable men had weak points. And Ava knew every single one. Inside his office, Ethan checked his phone again. Still no real conversation from Ava. Just short replies. That was unusual. Normally Ava was more affectionate. He leaned back in his chair. Something felt off. His phone buzzed again. This time from Lily. Lily, did Ava say anything weird last night? Ethan frowned. Ethan, what do you mean? 3 dots. Then another message. Lily, I don't know. She just looked at me strange. Ethan laughed quietly. You're paranoid, he typed back. She has no idea. Across the city, Ava Monroe received a notification. Because Ethan had forgotten something important. The phone she gave him last Christmas was connected to her cloud account. Every message, every photo, every conversation, automatically synced. Ava watched the new messages appear on her screen. Her smile slowly returned. Wow, she murmured. You really are that stupid. She placed the phone down. The game was getting easier already. That evening, Chicago glowed under the orange light of sunset reflecting off skyscraper glass. Ava arrived at Ethan's luxury condo in River North. He opened the door with a grin. There's my future wife. He kissed her. Ava kissed him back. Perfect. Convincing. Oscar-worthy. Inside the apartment, soft music played while pasta cooked in the kitchen. Ethan had clearly tried to make the night romantic. Candles. Wine. The works. Ava took off her coat. Smells good, she said. I tried. Ethan replied proudly. They sat down at the dining table. Ethan poured wine. So, he said casually, wedding planning this weekend? Ava twirled pasta on her fork. Maybe. Then she looked at him, directly into his eyes. Ethan. Yeah. Are you happy? He laughed. Of course I am. With me? Obviously. Ava nodded slowly. Good. She took another bite. Completely calm. Ethan relaxed. See? Everything was fine. Just his imagination earlier. But then Ava asked another question. One that made the room suddenly feel colder. When was the last time you lied to me? Ethan froze for half a second, then chuckled. Seriously? I'm just curious. Ethan shrugged. Probably about something stupid. Like saying I liked your vegan lasagna. Ava laughed softly. Fair. She raised her glass. To honesty. Ethan clinked it. To honesty. And for the first time that evening, Ethan felt something strange in Ava's eyes. Like she was watching him, studying him, measuring something invisible. But before he could ask about it, Ava changed the subject. Work. Travel. Normal couple conversation. By the end of dinner, Ethan felt relaxed again. They moved to the couch. Ava rested her head on his shoulder. You know, she said softly. I trust you more than anyone. Ethan kissed her forehead. You should. Ava smiled and whispered quietly enough that Ethan almost didn't hear it. Good. 2 hours later, Ava stepped into the cold Chicago night again. Snow crunched under her boots. Her Uber arrived. But before getting in, she sent one email to Ethan's firm with the subject line, Confidential, Compliance Concern. Attached were several documents, not the cheating evidence, something much worse. Financial irregularities, minor ones, but enough to trigger an internal investigation. Ava leaned back in the Uber seat as the car pulled away. Step 2, she whispered. Pressure. Her phone buzzed again. Unknown number. She answered. Hello. The voice on the other end was male. Calm. Almost amused. You don't know me, the man said. But I know what Ethan did. Ava's eyes narrowed. And if you're planning revenge. He paused. You're aiming too small. Silence filled the car. Chicago lights blurred past the window. Finally Ava spoke. Who is this? The man chuckled. Someone who knows the real Ethan Carter. Ava felt something shift again. Something darker. What are you talking about? Another pause. Then the man said the one sentence that changed everything. The affair with Lily is the least terrible thing he's done. The call ended. Ava slowly lowered the phone. Her reflection stared back from the dark window. And for the first time since discovering the betrayal, Ava Monroe realized something terrifying. Her revenge story might not be about cheating at all. Because if that man was telling the truth, then Ethan Carter was hiding something far more dangerous. And Ava had just stepped into a game she didn't fully understand. Chicago nights had a particular kind of darkness. Not the quiet darkness of small towns. This was louder. Sirens echoing through concrete streets. The hum of traffic on Lakeshore Drive. Neon lights reflecting off wet asphalt. Wind whipping through alleyways between towering buildings. A city that hid 1,000 secrets. And tonight, Ava Monroe was about to discover one of the worst. Her Uber stopped outside her apartment building in Streeterville. Here you go, the driver said. Thanks. Ava stepped out into the cold night air, the wind instantly cutting through her coat. But her mind wasn't on the weather. It was on the phone call. The affair with Lily is the least terrible thing he's done. Those words replayed in her mind again and again. She walked through the lobby. The night security guard nodded. Late night, Ms. Monroe. Always. Her heels clicked across the marble floor as she entered the elevator. Floor 37. The doors closed. And for the first time that day, Ava's calm mask cracked slightly. Her reflection in the elevator mirror looked different. Not angry. Not heartbroken. Something else. Curious. Dangerously curious. Because Ava Monroe had spent years cleaning up scandals for powerful people. She knew the pattern. When someone warned you about a secret, it meant the secret was big enough to ruin lives. The elevator dinged. Her apartment door closed behind her with a soft click. Silence filled the room. She walked straight to the kitchen island and opened her laptop. If Ethan Carter was hiding something, she was going to find it. Across Chicago, Ethan Carter was having a very different night. He sat in his River North condo staring at his laptop screen. The email from compliance had arrived 30 minutes earlier. Subject line: Internal Financial Review. Immediate attention required. Ethan rubbed his forehead. What the hell? The email wasn't accusing him of anything yet, but it listed several transactions connected to his department that required clarification. Minor discrepancies, but enough to raise questions. His boss had already scheduled a meeting for tomorrow morning. Ethan leaned back in his chair. Great. He had spent 10 years building his reputation at the firm. One investigation, even a small one, could damage that. Still, it wasn't panic-worthy. Not yet. He poured himself a glass of whiskey and tried to relax. But something else kept bothering him. Ava. The way she had looked at him during dinner. The questions she asked. The strange calmness. Ethan knew Ava well enough to recognize one thing. She wasn't acting normal. He checked his phone. A message from Lily. Can we talk? Ethan sighed. This again. He called her. Lily answered immediately. Ethan. You're still freaking out? I just have a bad feeling. Ethan rolled his eyes. About what? About Ava. She doesn't know anything. You don't know that. Relax, he said firmly. We've been careful. Lily hesitated, then asked quietly, what if she saw us? Ethan took a long sip of whiskey. She didn't. But deep down, he wasn't as certain as he sounded. Meanwhile, Ava Monroe was already 3 hours into digging. Her laptop screen glowed in the dark living room. Multiple windows open. Financial records. Corporate filings. Investment databases. Ethan Carter's career history. Most of it looked normal. Successful even. But Ava wasn't looking for obvious mistakes. She was looking for patterns. And patterns eventually reveal truth. She scrolled through transaction reports. Then stopped. Her eyes narrowed. One name appeared repeatedly across several deals. A shell company. Harrison Development Group. That name rang a bell. Ava quickly searched the company. The results appeared instantly. Her stomach tightened. The company had been connected to a real estate project on the south side of Chicago. A luxury redevelopment project. 3 years ago. But Ava remembered something else about that project. Something darker. She typed another search. News articles filled the screen. Her heart began beating faster. Because the project had been involved in a scandal. Not financial. Something worse. A construction accident. 4 workers dead. The project shut down. Investigations launched. But strangely, no one had been held responsible. Ava leaned back slowly. Interesting. Because Ethan's firm had quietly financed that project. And Ethan himself had personally handled the deal. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number again. The same number from earlier. Ava answered. You like digging. The man's voice said calmly. Ava's eyes hardened. You've been watching me. Not watching. Then how do you know? The man chuckled softly. Because you're predictable. Ava stayed silent. The man continued. You found the Harrison project yet? A chill ran down her spine. Yes. Good. What does it have to do with Ethan? The man paused, then said something chilling. Everything. Ava stood up slowly. Start explaining. Another pause. Then the man spoke again. You think Ethan Carter is just a cheating fiancé. You think he's a typical Wall Street guy. But 3 years ago. The man's voice lowered. Chicago woke slowly after a snowstorm. The city looked almost peaceful. Sidewalks buried in white. Traffic moving carefully through slushy streets, and steam rising from subway grates like the city itself was breathing. But Ava Monroe hadn't slept. Not even a minute. Her apartment overlooked Lake Michigan from the 37th floor of a sleek glass tower in Streeterville. Normally the view calmed her. The endless gray water. The distant line of Navy Pier. The quiet rhythm of waves hitting the frozen shoreline. Today it meant nothing. She stood by the window in an oversized sweater, a mug of black coffee in her hands. Her phone lay on the marble kitchen island. Dozens of messages. From Ethan. From Lily. From friends who had been at the dinner. But Ava ignored all of them. Instead, she replayed the moment from the parking garage again in her head. The kiss. The way Ethan held Lily like it wasn't the first time. The way Lily laughed afterward. That laugh. Ava slowly took a sip of coffee. The bitterness felt good. Pain had a strange way of sharpening your mind. And Ava Monroe had always been good at strategy. Back in college at Northwestern, her professors used to joke that she thought like a chess grandmaster. 3 moves ahead. Always calm. Always calculating. But revenge required something more. Patience. And right now, she had all the patience in the world. Her phone buzzed again. Ethan. She finally picked it up. Ethan. Good morning, beautiful. You okay? You seemed off last night. Ava smiled slightly. Typing slowly. Ava. Just tired. Big day at work. 3 dots appeared immediately. Ethan. Dinner tonight? I miss you. Ava leaned against the counter. Her reflection stared back at her from the stainless steel refrigerator. Calm. Collected. Deadly. Ava. Of course. She hit send. Then whispered softly to herself. Let the show begin. Downtown Chicago buzzed with its usual Monday chaos. The loop filled with suits, coffee cups, and the sound of the L train rumbling overhead. Ava walked into her office building like nothing had happened. The security guard greeted her. Morning, Ms. Monroe. Morning, Carl. Her heels clicked confidently across the marble lobby floor. No one would ever guess that 12 hours ago her entire world had shattered. That was the advantage of emotional discipline. People underestimated calm women. Ava worked as a corporate crisis strategist for a high-profile consulting firm. In simple terms, when powerful people screwed up, Ava fixed the mess. Scandals, corporate leaks, political disasters. She specialized in controlling narratives, which meant she understood something most people didn't. Information was power. And Ethan Carter had no idea how much information Ava had access to. She stepped into the elevator, pressed 43. As the doors closed, she opened her phone again. Not Ethan's messages. Something else. A folder. Photos. Screenshots. And one particular video she had quietly recorded last night. Parking garage security cameras had blind spots. But Ava's phone camera didn't. The video clearly showed Ethan and Lily kissing. Laughing. Holding each other. Ava watched it again. Her expression didn't change. But something inside her hardened. Step 1, she whispered. Documentation. Because revenge without proof was just drama. And Ava Monroe didn't do drama. She built cases. Across town, Ethan Carter walked into his investment firm's office with his usual confident swagger. The building on LaSalle Street was pure old money Chicago. Tall columns, polished stone floors, and a lobby filled with men who thought they controlled the world. Ethan adjusted his expensive navy suit. Morning, he said to the receptionist. Morning, Mr. Carter. His coworkers respected him. Clients trusted him. His bosses loved him. Ethan Carter was the kind of man who seemed untouchable. But even untouchable men had weak points. And Ava knew every single one. Inside his office, Ethan checked his phone again. Still no real conversation from Ava. Just short replies. That was unusual. Normally Ava was more affectionate. He leaned back in his chair. Something felt off. His phone buzzed again. This time from Lily. Lily, did Ava say anything weird last night? Ethan frowned. Ethan, what do you mean? 3 dots. Then another message. Lily, I don't know. She just looked at me strange. Ethan laughed quietly. You're paranoid, he typed back. She has no idea. Across the city, Ava Monroe received a notification. Because Ethan had forgotten something important. The phone she gave him last Christmas was connected to her cloud account. Every message, every photo, every conversation, automatically synced. Ava watched the new messages appear on her screen. Her smile slowly returned. Wow, she murmured. You really are that stupid. She placed the phone down. The game was getting easier already. That evening, Chicago glowed under the orange light of sunset reflecting off skyscraper glass. Ava arrived at Ethan's luxury condo in River North. He opened the door with a grin. There's my future wife. He kissed her. Ava kissed him back. Perfect. Convincing. Oscar-worthy. Inside the apartment, soft music played while pasta cooked in the kitchen. Ethan had clearly tried to make the night romantic. Candles. Wine. The works. Ava took off her coat. "Smells good," she said. "I tried," Ethan replied proudly. They sat down at the dining table. Ethan poured wine. "So," he said casually, "wedding planning this weekend?" Ava twirled pasta on her fork. "Maybe." Then she looked at him, directly into his eyes. "Ethan." "Yeah. Are you happy?" He laughed. "Of course I am." "With me?" "Obviously." Ava nodded slowly. "Good." She took another bite. Completely calm. Ethan relaxed. See? Everything was fine. Just his imagination earlier. But then Ava asked another question. One that made the room suddenly feel colder. "When was the last time you lied to me?" Ethan froze for half a second. 4 people died because of a deal Ethan helped push through. Ava's stomach tightened. That project failed because the building materials were defective. Cheap steel. Illegal substitutions. Corners cut to save money. Ava's mind raced. Construction companies make mistakes. "Sure," the man said. But Ethan knew. Silence filled the apartment. He knew the materials were unsafe. The voice continued. He approved the financing anyway. Ava felt her pulse in her ears. "And after the accident?" The man laughed quietly. The investigation disappeared. Witnesses changed their stories. Reports were altered. Money moved. Ava whispered, "Bribes." Exactly. Ava stared out the window at the frozen lake. Suddenly her revenge plan felt very small. She had planned to ruin Ethan emotionally. Embarrass him. Destroy his career. But this was something else entirely. "You're telling me Ethan covered up manslaughter?" 4 counts. Ava closed her eyes for a moment. When she opened them again, they looked different. Colder. More focused. "Why are you telling me this?" The man finally answered. "Because I've been trying to bring him down for 3 years. And I couldn't do it alone." Ava leaned against the window. "And now you think I'll help?" "You already are." Ava's voice hardened. "What do you want?" The man's answer came quietly. "Justice." Ava almost laughed. "You're talking to the wrong person. If you think I'm doing this for justice, then why are you doing it?" Ava's lips slowly curved into that dangerous smile again. "Because he betrayed me." Silence. Then the man said something that made Ava freeze. "If you go after Ethan, you'll need to watch Lily too." Ava frowned. "What about her?" Another pause. Then the man said the words that changed everything again. "Lily Parker didn't just sleep with Ethan. She helped him cover it up." Ava's heart skipped. "What?" "Lily worked for Harrison Development 3 years ago. She handled internal communications." Ava felt the room spin slightly. "You're saying?" "Yes." "She helped bury the evidence." The line went silent. Ava slowly lowered the phone. Her best friend. Her fiancé. Both connected to the same deadly secret. And suddenly Ava understood something terrifying. The betrayal wasn't just personal. It was criminal. 4 people had died. And the 2 people she trusted most might be responsible. Ava stared at the Chicago skyline. Lights stretching endlessly across the city. Her revenge plan had just transformed. This wasn't about heartbreak anymore. This was war. And this time, she wasn't just going to ruin Ethan Carter's life. She was going to destroy everything he had built. But somewhere across the city, inside a quiet apartment on the west side, Lily Parker sat on her couch staring at her phone. Her hands shaking. Because she had just received a message from an unknown number. The message contained one single photo. A photo from 3 years ago. A construction site. Police tape. Ambulances. And Ethan standing beside her. The message underneath read, "The truth always comes back." Lily whispered in terror. "Oh my God." Because someone else had started playing the game too. And Ava Monroe had no idea. She wasn't the only one seeking revenge anymore. Ava learns Ethan and Lily may be involved in a deadly construction scandal, but another mysterious player has also entered the game. Chicago looked beautiful from above. From the rooftop bar of the Langham Hotel, the entire skyline glittered like glass and fire. The Chicago River cut through downtown like a black ribbon, reflecting the lights of skyscrapers on both sides. People laughed. Cocktails clinked. Expensive suits and designer dresses moved through the warm golden light. But Ava Monroe stood near the railing alone, staring at the city like she was studying a battlefield. Because tonight, she was setting a trap. The wind tugged at her black dress as she checked her phone. 7:42 p.m. Ethan would arrive soon. And tonight was important. Not for revenge. Not for anger. Tonight was about information. Because the deeper Ava dug into Ethan's past, the clearer one thing became. The cheating, the lies, the secret construction scandal, they were only pieces of something larger. And if Ethan Carter really was involved in the deaths of 4 construction workers 3 years ago, then Ava needed proof. Real proof. The kind that destroyed lives. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. The same mysterious caller. Ava answered. "I'm here," she said quietly. The man's voice came through the line. "Good. Is everything ready?" "Yes." Ava glanced toward the hotel entrance. "You're sure he'll talk?" "He will," the man replied. "Why?" "Because men like Ethan always think they're the smartest person in the room." Ava smiled slightly. "That sounds familiar." There was a brief pause. Then the man added something serious. "But Ava, once this starts, there's no going back." She stared at the Chicago skyline again. "I passed that point yesterday." "Good." The call ended. Ava slipped the phone into her purse. Inside that purse was something else too. A tiny recording device. Because tonight Ethan Carter was going to talk. He just didn't know it yet. Ethan Carter arrived exactly 8 minutes later. He stepped onto the rooftop with his usual confident swagger. Navy suit. Perfect hair. A man who looked like he owned the world. When he spotted Ava, he smiled. "Wow." She turned. "You clean up nice." Ava gave a playful shrug. "Thought we deserved a nice night." Ethan walked over and kissed her. "You feeling better than yesterday?" "Much." They sat at a private table overlooking the river. A waiter poured champagne. The night air felt cold but electric. Ethan relaxed into his chair. "I needed this," he admitted. "Work's been crazy today." Ava raised an eyebrow. "Oh, compliance investigation." Ava pretended to look surprised. "That sounds serious." "Nah," Ethan said confidently. "Just paperwork nonsense." Ava swirled her champagne slowly. "I'm sure." He leaned closer. "Honestly, I think someone inside the firm is trying to screw with me." Ava tilted her head. "Why would someone do that?" Ethan smirked. "Jealousy." "Of you. Of my position." Ava took a small sip, then said something carefully. "You've made some big deals lately." "Exactly. And big deals sometimes create enemies." Ethan nodded. "You get it." Of course she did. But Ava wasn't thinking about office politics. She was thinking about 4 dead construction workers. She leaned forward slightly. "You remember that Harrison development project?" Ethan's smile disappeared. Just for half a second. Then he shrugged. "Yeah. Why?" "I read about it recently." "Oh." "The construction accident." Ethan's fingers tightened slightly around his glass. "Old news. Still tragic though." "Yeah." Ava watched him carefully. Every movement. Every blink. Then she asked the question. "Did you know the materials were faulty?" The words landed like a grenade. Ethan froze. His eyes locked onto hers. "What?" "You heard me." The city noise faded into the background. For a moment neither of them spoke. Then Ethan laughed. A little too loudly. "Where did you hear that?" Ava shrugged. "Just rumors." Ethan leaned back in his chair. His expression had changed now. More cautious. Construction accidents happen all the time. But sometimes they happen because people cut corners. Ethan stared at her. You sound like a lawyer. Just curious. He studied her for a long moment, then asked quietly, Why are you asking about this? Ava smiled sweetly. No reason. But Ethan Carter wasn't stupid. And suddenly something clicked in his mind. The strange dinner. The questions. The calm behavior. His eyes narrowed. Ava. Yes. Did someone talk to you? Her heart skipped once, but her face remained perfectly calm. About what? The Harrison Project. Ava tilted her head. Should someone have? For the first time that evening, Ethan Carter looked nervous. He glanced around the rooftop, at the other guests, at the skyline, then leaned closer. His voice dropped to a whisper. You don't understand what you're messing with. Ava's pulse quickened. Try me. Ethan rubbed his jaw. You think the world works like some Netflix documentary. Good guys. Bad guys. But the real world isn't like that. Ava leaned forward too. Then explain it to me. Ethan hesitated. And that hesitation told Ava everything. He knew. He absolutely knew. Finally he spoke again. Those workers dying wasn't my fault. Ava felt ice run through her veins. So you admit you knew? I didn't say that. You just did. Ethan exhaled sharply. Look, things happened during that project. What things? Decisions. Whose decisions? He looked directly into her eyes. People way more powerful than me. Ava's stomach tightened. Developers? Ethan didn't answer. Investors? She pushed. Still silence. Then he said something chilling. You don't want to know. Ava's voice hardened. I do. Ethan shook his head slowly. No. Why not? Because once you know. He leaned even closer. You become part of the problem. Ava's heart pounded. Try me. Ethan stared at her. Then said quietly. The Harrison Project was backed by people you don't investigate. People you don't expose. People you definitely don't cross. Ava whispered. What people? Ethan leaned back again. His voice barely audible. Chicago people. The way he said it made her skin crawl. Not businessmen. Not investors. Something else. Something darker. Ava realized something terrifying. This scandal wasn't just corporate corruption. It might be connected to organized crime. Ethan continued quietly. After the accident, everyone involved was told to shut up. Who told them? He shook his head again. You really don't want this answer. But Ava already knew the truth. Because suddenly everything made sense. The missing investigation. The altered reports. The witnesses changing stories. Someone powerful had buried the case. Someone with influence across the entire city. Ava whispered. The Chicago outfit. Ethan didn't confirm it, but the look in his eyes was enough. And in that moment Ava understood something horrifying. She hadn't just declared revenge on Ethan Carter. She had stepped into something much bigger. Much more dangerous. And Ethan knew it. That's why I'm telling you to stop digging, he said quietly. For your own good. Ava slowly leaned back in her chair. The recording device in her purse was still running. Every word captured. Every admission saved. But this had gone further than she expected. Because if organized crime was involved, then revenge wasn't just risky. It was deadly. Ethan stood up. I think we should go home. Ava nodded slowly. Yeah. They walked toward the elevator together. Neither speaking. But inside Ava's mind, the pieces were rearranging. The game had changed again. And when the elevator doors closed, Ethan suddenly turned toward her. His expression completely different. Cold. Calculating. You already knew about Lily, didn't you? Ava froze. Ethan smirked slightly. I saw your face in the garage yesterday. Her heart dropped. You thought I didn't notice? The elevator hummed downward. Funny thing about secrets, Ethan continued. They never stay hidden forever. The doors opened to the lobby. Ethan leaned close to her ear and whispered one final sentence. You should stop digging, Ava. Before someone decides you know too much. Then he walked away, leaving Ava standing alone in the elevator. But when she stepped outside the hotel, she noticed something strange. Across the street, two black SUVs were parked, their engines running, and inside one of them, a man was watching her. The same man who had been following Ethan for years. The mysterious caller. But this time, he wasn't alone. Because in the passenger seat sat someone Ava never expected to see again. Someone she thought had disappeared 3 years ago. One of the witnesses from the Harrison construction accident. And the man looked terrified. Because he had just recognized Ethan Carter walking out of the hotel. And he whispered something to the driver. Something that made the driver instantly grab his phone. "Yeah," the man said urgently. "It's him." Pause. Then he added, "And Ava Monroe is in serious danger." Ava discovers Ethan's secret may involve Chicago's criminal underworld, and now powerful people may be watching her. Chicago felt different that night. The wind coming off Lake Michigan was brutal, slicing through downtown like a blade. Snow had started falling again, swirling between the skyscrapers, coating streets in a thin layer of white. But Ava Monroe barely noticed. She walked quickly along Wacker Drive, her mind racing faster than the traffic rushing past. Ethan's warning still echoed in her head. Stop digging before someone decides you know too much. 3 days ago, she had thought her biggest problem was a cheating fiancé. Now she was facing something far more dangerous. A corruption scandal. Dead construction workers. Organized crime. And people powerful enough to bury the truth. Ava stopped at the edge of the Chicago River and stared down at the black water moving slowly beneath the bridge. Her phone buzzed. The same unknown number. The mysterious man. She answered immediately. "I think you owe me the full story now," she said. The voice on the other end sounded serious. "You're finally ready to hear it?" "I've been ready." A pause. Then the man said quietly, "My name is Daniel Reyes." Ava frowned. "Who are you, Daniel?" "I was the lead investigator on the Harrison construction accident." Her heart skipped. "You're a cop." "Used to be." The words hung in the cold air. "What happened?" Ava asked. Reyes sighed. "I got too close to the truth." Meaning someone shut the investigation down. Ava's stomach tightened. The Chicago outfit. Among others. Others? City officials, investors, lawyers. People who had millions riding on that project. Ava rubbed her forehead. So the whole system buried it. Exactly. And Ethan? Reyes's voice hardened. Ethan Carter knew the steel used in that building was illegal. Ava closed her eyes. He approved the financing anyway. Yes. And Lily. She handled the internal emails that erased the evidence. Snowflakes landed on Ava's hair. Cold. Sharp. Real. "So they're both guilty," she whispered. "Yes." "Then why hasn't anyone exposed them?" Reyes laughed bitterly. "Because everyone who tried got buried too." Silence filled the phone. Finally Ava asked the question that mattered most. "So, why are you helping me?" Reyes didn't hesitate. "Because 4 people died. And someone needs to answer for it." Ava looked up at the Chicago skyline. Tall, beautiful, and full of lies. "Then let's finish this," she said. The next night, Chicago's financial district buzzed with its usual weekday energy. Inside a sleek office tower on LaSalle Street, Ethan Carter walked into a conference room looking irritated. His boss sat at the head of the table. 2 compliance officers sat beside him. Stacks of documents covered the table. Ethan forced a smile. "This seems dramatic." His boss didn't smile back. "We've discovered some serious inconsistencies." Ethan sat down. "What kind?" One of the officers slid a document across the table. Financial transfers. Corporate shell companies. Hidden payments connected to the Harrison development project. Ethan's stomach dropped. But he kept his expression calm. "Looks like accounting errors." The officer leaned forward. $10 million in accounting errors? Ethan didn't answer. His boss spoke quietly. "Ethan, this investigation isn't internal anymore." Ethan felt the room tilt slightly. "What do you mean?" The boss exhaled. We've been contacted by federal investigators. The word landed like a bomb. Federal. Ethan leaned back slowly. That's ridiculous. But inside his mind, panic had already begun. Because someone had exposed the transactions. Someone had found the money. Someone had connected the deal. And suddenly Ethan knew exactly who that someone was. Across the city, Ava Monroe sat in a quiet cafe near Millennium Park. Snow covered the trees outside. Tourists walked past wrapped in scarves and heavy coats. But Ava barely noticed. Her laptop screen glowed in front of her. Dozens of documents. Financial records. Email chains. Internal company files. Everything Ethan and Lily had tried to bury. Daniel Reyes sat across from her. For the first time, Ava saw him clearly. Mid-40s. Rough face. Eyes that looked permanently tired. A man who had spent years chasing a truth no one wanted. You did good work, Reyes said. Ava shrugged. I fix scandals for a living. Not like this. No, she admitted. Not like this. Reyes slid one final folder across the table. Inside were photographs from the construction site 3 years ago. Twisted steel beams. Ambulances. Workers being carried away. Ava looked at the pictures silently. Then closed the folder. So this ends Ethan's career, she said. Probably. And Lily's. Yes. But the people above them? Reyes sighed. They'll survive. Ava stared at him. That's not good enough. Reyes looked surprised. What do you mean? Ava leaned back. If we're doing this, we do it properly. Reyes narrowed his eyes. You're planning something. Ava smiled slowly. The truth deserves a stage. 2 nights later, the Chicago Charity Leadership Gala filled the ballroom of the Palmer House Hotel. Hundreds of wealthy guests. Politicians. Investors. Media. Crystal chandeliers lit the enormous room like daylight. And standing at the center of the crowd was Ethan Carter. He held a glass of champagne, trying to look relaxed. But inside, he was unraveling. The federal investigation had already begun. His firm had suspended him. Lawyers were calling. The walls were closing in. And worst of all, he still didn't know exactly what Ava had done. The ballroom doors opened. Heads turned. Ava Monroe walked inside. Black evening gown. Elegant. Calm. That same beautiful smile. Ethan felt his stomach twist. She walked directly toward him. Hi, Ethan. He forced a laugh. You've been busy. Ava tilted her head. You noticed. You reported me. I exposed you. Ethan's voice dropped. You think this ends with me? No. Ava said quietly. It ends with the truth. Before Ethan could reply, the ballroom lights suddenly dimmed. A massive projector screen behind the stage flickered to life. Guests turned in confusion. Then the first image appeared. A construction site. Police tape. The Harrison Development logo. Murmurs spread through the crowd. The next image appeared. Financial documents. Shell companies. Hidden payments. Then the emails. The messages Lily had sent. Instructions to delete safety reports. Instructions to change witness statements. The room exploded with whispers. Ethan's face went white. What did you do? Ava smiled. I told the story. The final image appeared on the screen. A photograph of Ethan Carter signing the financing approval. The same approval that allowed the faulty steel to be used. 4 deaths. 1 signature. Gasps filled the ballroom. Reporters rushed forward. Phones came out. Cameras flashed. Ethan looked around in horror. His life collapsing in real time. You ruined everything, he whispered. Ava stepped closer. No. She looked him directly in the eyes. You ruined everything 3 years ago. Police officers suddenly entered the ballroom. 2 detectives approached Ethan. Mr. Carter? Ethan's hands trembled. Yes. You're under arrest for financial fraud, obstruction of justice, and conspiracy related to the Harrison Development investigation. The room went silent. Handcuffs clicked around Ethan's wrists. As officers led him away, He looked back at Ava one final time. You think you won? Ava's smile never faded. I know I did. Later that night, snow covered Chicago again. Ava stood alone on the same bridge where everything had started. The city lights reflected across the frozen river. Daniel Reyes walked up beside her. It's done, he said. Ava nodded. Yeah. Federal prosecutors say they're reopening the entire case. Good. Reyes looked at her. You know, revenge usually destroys people. Ava smiled softly. Maybe. Did it destroy you? She thought about that. About Ethan. About Lily. About everything she had learned. Then she shook her head. No. Reyes raised an eyebrow. Why not? Ava looked across the skyline. Because sometimes revenge wasn't about anger. Sometimes it was about truth. And sometimes, the best revenge was simply letting the world see who someone really was. She slipped her hands into her coat pockets, then smiled that same quiet smile, the one that had started everything, and whispered softly to the cold Chicago wind. Revenge wears a smile.